station was nearly empty when Emma stepped onto the platform. A cool breeze carried the scent of rain, and the sky was painted with the last streaks of twilight. She had missed her earlier train and now waited for the last one of the night, tired after a long day at work. Across the platform, she noticed him. He was reading a worn paperback, his dark hair falling slightly into his eyes. Something about the way he seemed lost in his book made her heart pause. When he glanced up, their eyes met for a brief second, long enough to stir something unspoken between them. The train arrived with a low rumble, and as fate would have it, they boarded the same carriage. Emma sat by the window, and moments later, he took the seat opposite her. The silence between them felt heavy, yet strangely comfortable. "You like to read?" Emma finally asked, nodding toward his book. He smiled, a little surprised but warm. "Yeah. It helps me escape. Long days, you know?" She nodded, understanding more than she expected. What began as a small question soon unfolded into a conversation that filled the night. They talked about favorite authors, childhood dreams, and the little things, like how he always ordered tea instead of coffee, or how she loved walking in the rain without an umbrella. The train carried them through the darkness, and time slipped by unnoticed. When the final stop approached, Emma felt an ache in her chest. She didn't want the journey, or the moment, to end. "This is me," she said softly, standing as the train slowed. He hesitated, then asked, "Will I see you again?" Emma's heart raced. She smiled, pulling a pen from her bag and writing her number on the inside cover of his book. "Only if you promise to finish that story and tell me the ending." His grin widened, genuine and hopeful. "Deal." As she stepped off the train, the night air wrapped around her, but it no longer felt cold. She knew something had changed. Something fragile, but real. The train pulled away, and inside it, a stranger-turned possibility held a book that now carried more than just words. The Cafe at Dusk. Evelyn had always loved the little cafe on the corner of Willow Street. Its wooden tables, the warm scent of roasted coffee, and the golden light spilling through the windows gave her comfort after long days. She came every evening, sketchbook in hand, drawing strangers who never knew they became part of the world. One autumn evening, while she was sketching the steam rising from her cup, someone sat at the table across from her. He was tall, with kind eyes and a hesitant smile. He carried a book but looked more interested in the way she moved her pencil. "You draw beautifully," he said, voice soft, as if afraid to disturb the quiet. Evelyn looked up, surprised. "Thank you. I don't usually get caught." He smiled. "Maybe I was meant to catch you." His name was Daniel, a literature teacher who loved words as much as she loved lines. Day by day, their evenings intertwined. He read aloud fragments of poetry. She sketched him in secret, capturing the curve of his laughter, the calmness of his gaze. Slowly, the cafe became more than a place to rest, it became theirs. One rainy night, as the streets outside glistened with reflections, Daniel leaned across the table. "Evelyn, every story I've read feels unfinished until I see you. I don't want to be just a character in your sketchbook. I want to be part of your life." Her heart raced. She closed her sketchbook and slid it toward him. On the last page was his portrait, surrounded by stars and words she had written, "You are already part of my story." Silence lingered, broken only by the soft patter of rain against the glass. Then he reached for her hand, warm and steady. From that evening on, he never sat alone. The cafe remained the same, wooden tables, golden night, but for Evelyn and Daniel, it was no longer just a corner on Willow Street. It was the place where two stories became one. The bridge at dawn. Amelia had always loved walking by the river at dawn. The quiet streets, the mist clinging to the water, and the faint hum of the city waking up, it was her favorite part of the day. That morning, as she crossed the old stone bridge, she noticed someone standing there, sketchbook in hand. It was Daniel. They had met months ago at the library, both reaching for the same worn-out poetry book. Since then, their paths had crossed often, as if fate was gently weaving them together. Sketching again? But the sunrise is too beautiful, it refuses to stay still. She leaned on the railing beside him, watching the sky turn from pale gray to soft gold. For a moment, neither spoke. It was the kind of silence that felt full rather than empty. Finally, Daniel said, "I've been wanting to tell you something." He hesitated, fingers tightening around the pencil. "Every time I draw this bridge, you're there. Not literally, but in my mind. I think it's because you've become part of the picture I don't want to lose." Amelia's heart fluttered. She had always sensed something unspoken between them, like the unfinished line of a poem. She turned toward him, her voice soft but steady. "Maybe that's because I've been waiting for you to say it." He blinked, surprised, and then laughed quietly, relief spilling into his smile. "So, what does that mean for us?" Amelia looked out at the river, the sunlight dancing on the ripples. Then she met his eyes. "It means we stop pretending this is coincidence. And maybe, we walk across this bridge together from now on." Daniel reached for her hand. It was warm, steady, and full of promise. The city stood awake around them, but for Amelia and Daniel, the world had already begun anew, with a sunrise that belonged to both. The last train home. The night was quiet, broken only by the hum of the last train pulling into the station. Anna sat on the bench, her suitcase by her feet, her eyes fixed on the clock. She had promised herself she wouldn't wait. And yet, here she was. Daniel arrived breathless, his coat unbuttoned, his hair slightly damp from the drizzle. For a moment, they just stared at each other, the noise of the train fading into silence. "You almost left," he said softly, catching his breath. "I should have," Anna replied, her voice trembling. "You've had so many chances." Daniel stepped closer. "And I wasted them. But not tonight. I can't let you go without telling you, without showing you, how much you mean to me." Her heart raced. She wanted to believe him, but the scars of broken promises were still fresh. She lowered her gaze. "Words are easy, Daniel." He knelt in front of her, ignoring the curious glances of strangers. "Then let me prove it. Stay. Give me one more chance. Not because I deserve it, but because I can't imagine a life without you." Anna felt tears well in her eyes. She had dreamed of this moment, of him finally choosing her over hesitation, over fear. Still, the train doors hissed open behind her, calling her to the life she had planned alone. Daniel held out his hand. "Please." Her fingers trembled as she reached for him. And in that small, fragile gesture, everything shifted. The train departed without her, carrying away a future she no longer needed. Anna smiled through her tears. "One last chance," she whispered. Daniel's eyes shone with relief. "I won't waste it." And under the glow of the station lights, with the world rushing past them, they sealed their promise with a kiss, timid, desperate, and full of hope. The bridge at dusk. Emma often walked home across the old stone bridge after her evening classes. It was a quiet place where the river reflected the colors of the sky, soft pinks, golds, and the first hints of night. She liked the silence, the way the world seemed to pause there. One evening, as she leaned on the railing, sketching the horizon in her notebook, a voice broke the stillness. "Beautiful, isn't it?" She turned and saw Daniel, a young man she had noticed before in class but never spoken to. He was holding a camera, his smile shy but warm. "Yes," she replied, a little flustered. "I come here often to draw. And I come here to take photos," he said, raising his camera. "Maybe we're chasing the same thing." That night, they lingered on the bridge, sharing stories about their dreams. Emma wanted to be an artist, Daniel dreamed of becoming a travel photographer. They laughed at how similar their hearts felt, always searching, always creating. Days turned into weeks. They began meeting on the bridge, sometimes without planning, sometimes by secret arrangement. The bridge became their place, a sanctuary of whispered confessions, shared sketches, and stolen photographs. But life rarely stays still. Emma received news that she had been accepted into an art program abroad. It was everything she had worked for, yet the thought of leaving Daniel weighed heavily on her. On her last evening before departure, they stood together on the bridge at dusk. The sky burned in shades of orange and purple, as if the world itself knew their hearts were conflicted. "You should go," Daniel said softly. "Your art deserves the world." "And what about us?" Emma asked, her voice trembling. Daniel lifted his camera and snapped a photo of her against the glowing horizon. "Some bridges don't end," he whispered. "They just lead us back to each other." Emma smiled through her tears. She leaned in, kissed him gently, and promised, "No matter where I go, I'll find my way back here." Years later, long after her name appeared in galleries and as photographs in magazines, Emma returned to the bridge. And there he was, waiting with the same shy smile, as if no time had passed at all. The bridge had kept its promise.